I use a lot of iron in my hardcore world due to all the massive farms I build, but here's the thing, I only have this small iron farm, and since I plan on building an insane storage system real soon, that iron farm won't be good enough, so let's build an insane iron factory. But how do I do that? In Minecraft, there are two ways to get iron. You could go mining and collect the raw ore, or you could kill a lot of iron golems. Now normally you'd have to summon these yourself using 4 iron blocks and a carved pumpkin, but there's another way. When villagers are scared by a hostile mob such as a zombie or a pillager, they will summon an iron golem to protect them. We can exploit that by building an iron golem farm. This is simpler than it sounds. I have a lot of experience when it comes to iron farming, as I've worked on many different iron farm designs, but this iron farm design by MD piqued my interest as it's very compact and will make 11,000 iron per hour. Let's build it. First, I need a plan. For this to work, I'll need to find the perfect area that will have flat terrain with either a village or a pillager outpost nearby. I'll then destroy the terrain, taking it all the way down to bedrock, where I can then start building the farm. Afterwards I'll build a massive villager builder to fill the iron farm with villagers, and I'll use the pillager outpost to get an army of pillagers. Once all of that's done, I can start using the farm. So, let's get started. Since I'm going to be building a new iron farm, I think it's finally time to retire this old one. All I'm going to do is kill the villagers in the farm and the pillager in the middle. Then I can remove the entire thing. I'm going to leave the storage system for now as it's completely full of iron. Now, let's work on building this farm. For this to happen, I need to find the perfect area. Since I need this to be close to both a village and a pillager outpost, I'm going over to the pillager outpost I used to get Bad Omen, and I'll start flying over in this direction. There's a large continent over here that should have the flat terrain I need. This spot should work great. So since I want to build this farm low down in the world at bedrock, I'll need to remove all this terrain using flying machines. I've done this several times in the world so far, so I know exactly what I need to do. To remove all this terrain fast, I'll use a 3D TNT quarry by RaiseWorks. I've used this machine before when I was removing my end island, and also when I was clearing the terrain for my shulker farm. I should also mention that this machine isn't technically a quarry, it's a TNT duper that can move in 3 directions. A quarry is a completely different machine that I'll be building in a future video. Since I used this machine last episode, I already have all the resources required to build it. Before I build this machine, I need to clear the trenches for this area. This is so that I can deal with all the liquids and extra blocks, and so that I have the space in the hole for the machines when I need to rebuild them lower in the world. Here's the resources required for this trenching machine. These machines are very simple and easy to use. I've used them many times before and would highly recommend them. Now if you're going to build this duper, you can't place the minecarts straight away on this, as the TNT will activate and will have to be replaced. So, how do you prime it? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here's what to do. I add 2 blocks in the side of the dupers, placing an activator rail and a piston. I then add a minecart and power the piston with a redstone block. Then, I remove what I just placed and the TNT duper is ready to go. This is a quick way to prime most TNT dupers, so keep that in mind. So after getting those built, I place some obsidian at the far end so that the machines can bounce back. To start them, all I need to do is flick this lever, then press this button, and the trenching machine is away. While this machine runs, I follow it and remove any extra blocks and liquids that could cause the machine to break. This machine is quite fast, so I need to be careful as I don't want to be blown up. Since I'm actively removing liquids and other blocks, I can get down to the bottom of the world much faster since I don't need to stop and start the machine as often. Depending on the height of the terrain, you may have to build these several times to reach bedrock. With that first trench being done, I'm going to remove the machine and the obsidian so that I can do all of this 3 more times. With those trenches being finished, I can build all of these 3D TNT dupers and the return stations on the opposite side. Every time these machines are activated, they'll move forward dropping TNT, and both the starting and return stations will move as well. So I'm going to activate all 4 of them, then I'll go and sit up here in safety while this terrain is being removed. Just a quick reminder that at the end of the year I will be removing 1000 blocks in my hardcore world for each subscriber the channel has. If you enjoy watching my videos, please subscribe and claim your 1000 blocks. So with all that terrain removal being finished, the first few steps of my plan are complete. Now I'm going to tidy this place up by removing these flying machines for the final time, and then I'll remove any floating blocks that are left. There we go. Now I can focus on building the farm. First, I'm going into a testing world as I'd like to make a few changes to the design. So the original design would make 11,000 iron per hour, but I'd like a lot more, so rather than building one of these farms, I'll be building 6, making 66,000 iron per hour. This does mean that the resource list for this will be huge. Fortunately, a lot of these materials are easy to get, which is why I already have a barrel here full of shulkers containing some of the items needed for this farm. There are several items which are a bit harder to get. These are slime blocks, smooth stone, oak leaves and white stained glass. For the slime blocks, I'm going to AFK my slime farm, and after a quick crafting session, I have all the slime blocks I need. For the oak leaves, all I'm doing is growing a bunch of trees, then making use of some shears to harvest all the leaves I need. When it comes to the smooth stone, I'm going to take a few shulkers of cobblestone from the cobble farm, and I'll take this over to my ocean monument to use my furnace array. I'll send this through the system twice to make the smooth stone. Then, last of all, I have the white stained glass. For this, I'm going into the end and I'll take some sand from the sand duper storage system, and I'll take this over to the ocean monument to turn it into glass using the furnace array. Then I'll make a stop at my sheep and dye farm to turn it all into white stained glass. Then, all I need to do is take all these items over to the perimeter where I've set up a temporary storage area. With all of the item collection out of the way, let's build this farm. So unlike normal iron farms, these ones are quite complicated due to how compact they are. This means that the average build time for each farm is longer than average, which is why this time lapse is as long. After what felt like an eternity, I finally finished building this iron farm. With that done, the farm building phase is complete. Next, let's focus on filling this thing with villagers. To do that, I'll be building a villager breeder. Villager breeding is actually really simple. All we need is 2 villagers, 3 or 4 beds, and drop them some food, and then after a short amount of time, you'll have more villagers. I made a tutorial on a super simple villager breeder 3 years ago that should work for this, but I'd have to actively feed the villagers, which is kind of slow, so I'll be building a fully automatic one by Roma GFX. I've put together a few shulkers of materials and I'll use this area close to the village near the iron farm for this breeder. I'm going to be building a tower of these things so that I don't have to wait as long to get all the villagers I need for this iron farm. I was able to build this fast since the design is simple and easy to build. Then, all I had to do was capture a few villagers from the village, then send them into the breeder. After a bit of standing around, this holding cell is full of villagers, meaning that I can start filling the farm. To fill this thing, I brought a temporary rail line from the breeder down to the iron farm, and I'll send the villagers along it and into the holding cells. After a few hours, I had all the villagers in place, meaning that the villager breeding phase was complete. Now, let's work towards filling this farm with pillagers. Each module requires 2 pillagers, meaning I need 16 in total, which means I'll need 16 name tags. You can get these by finding them in dungeons, fishing, or by trading with villagers. I'll be using the villager trading hall I built a long time ago for this. I'll trade with these librarians until I have all the name tags. There we go. Then, all I have to do is rename them in this anvil. Now, let's work towards getting the pillagers. To make this as easy as possible, I'll be using the pillager outpost where I get Bad Omen. Since I have a farm here already, I'll go up to the top and wait for the pillagers to spawn and arrive up here. Normally, I'd kill them, but I won't be doing that this time. Instead, I'm going to be building a really long rail line all the way over to the iron farm. Then, all I need to do is modify this pillager farm a little bit, and then I need to get all these pillagers into minecarts. Then, I'll use this furnace minecart, and I'll meet them over at the perimeter. Once they arrive at the iron farm, I push them towards the holding cells and I get them positioned correctly. Then I remove any temporary blocks. Now, I need to do this for the remaining modules. After all those pillagers are in place, I'm going to remove the temporary rail line, meaning that the pillager phase is complete. While moving these pillagers, I realised that earlier I made a slight mistake when calculating the rates of this farm. I thought that this whole thing would make 66,000 iron per hour, but I was wrong. It actually makes 88,000 iron per hour, which is nice. Now I can technically start using this farm, but there's a problem. Currently all these farms operate independently, meaning I'd have to go and activate each of these one at a time. That isn't ideal, so let's fix that by using redstone. This redstone essentially makes each of these farms operate as if they were one farm, which simplifies the activation system. As you can see by these 2 redstone blocks, I haven't connected all the redstone. This is because these 2 redstone blocks are for 2 different systems in the farm. The one on the left is for the pillagers, and the one on the right is for the villagers. Even with that done, the system still isn't usable, so let's work on that. I'm going to take these lines of slime all the way up to the sky where I'll have the AFK spot and storage. Up here, I'm going to build a small glass platform and I'll connect all the redstone up to these note blocks. That way, all I need to do is right click on both to activate the farm. You'll notice how when these redstone lamps activate. The redstone for this system is quite simple, as you can see here. I never could have done all of this, but I wanted it to look cool, hence why I've used this activation system. I'm also going to build a copy of that activation system because in the future I plan on building a chunk loading grid here so that this is loaded when I'm not in the area. This system won't currently do anything, but it just means I won't have to modify this later. Next, let's work on the storage system. Since this farm will produce 88,000 iron per hour, I'm going to need a lot of chests. So I went ahead and built a wall of chests on either side with hoppers feeding into them. Now for most farms a setup like this would be fine, but since this farm makes so many items, let's use shulkers. We can do this automatically using shulker loaders, which is what I'm building right now. I've left plenty of space so I may build more of these in the future when I expand the farm. Yeah, that's right, I plan on adding a lot more modules to the farm in the future, which is why this AFK chamber is so high up. Now, all I need to do is connect the water streams from the farm below to this storage room, then I'll set up an nether portal allowing me to get here much faster. I think at this point this farm is finished. I won't start using it right away though, as there's still a few things left to do. First, I'm going to spend some time going through the shulker loaders setting up all the item filters. This system would be a waste if it collected all the poppies. After getting that done, I should probably fill this shulker loader with shulker boxes. Good thing I have a huge shulker farm for this. I took some shulker shells from this shulker farm and went and crafted a bunch of shulkers, then I filled this chest. After a while, all those shulker loaders should be completely full of shulkers, and I've went ahead and put all the extra shulkers I had in this chest. Before I start using this thing, I should probably check that I built the farm correctly. Since I use Litematica to build from schematics, I just need to run around the farm double checking everything, and apart from a few missing blocks, everything is ready to go. So, all I need to do is activate both of these note blocks, and after the lamps have turned on, this farm is running. I'll stand here for an hour and I'll see how much iron I end up with. With that hour being finished, I'm going to activate both of these note blocks again, turning the farm off. Now, when I look in these chests, you'll see all these shulkers full of iron, meaning this massive iron farm is working perfectly.